Promises made being kept. The Supreme Court helping him out a little bit today, but we're going to get into that as well. Steve, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow, my friend. All right, folks, we'll take it from here. Bolling. All right, it's 4 p.m. on Monday. What does that mean? It means markets are closed, and I will tell you how we did today. Well, I'll tell you, I'll get to crypto in a second, but the overall stock market, a little bit flat, a little bit up across the board. You can see it right there, less than 0.5% across the board on the major indices. We saw gold holding its own. Gold and oil went up today a lot because people are waiting for these inflation numbers that's going to come out towards the end of the week, Wednesday and Thursday. Have producer prices on Wednesday. That's where producers tell us how much things cost to make. My guess it's going to be up a little bit. And the consumer price index will probably be flat because oil prices have come down. And that's always helpful at the consumer level. Crypto had a good day for most of the day across the board. 112,200 or so with Bitcoin. It got around almost near 113,000. Ethereum did very well as well, up $7, and XRP did well, as did CRO. So all the crypto markets showing a good amount of strength. A lot of people are waiting to see where that breakout, 110,000, 109,000 or so in Bitcoin, the top being about 113, 14. It's going to break out of that range one way or the other. We're going to expect to hope it goes higher. All right, let's bring in the next guest, Professor Emeritus at Harvard, where he taught for 50 years and is called the world's best-known lawyer. His newest book is called The Preventive State, The Challenge of Preventing Serious Harms While Preserving Essential Liberties. And that last part for me, well, Alan Dershowitz, that last part for me, while preserving essential liberties, is the most important part of that. Over the weekend, you said you were willing to assist in suing former talk show host Rosie O'Donnell over her false claim that President Trump paid $1 billion to pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. You believe her statement was malicious. This woman moved out of the United States, wanting nothing to do with our country when Trump was elected a second time. Why is she still commenting on the president? Is it just an attempt at staying relevant? Let's bring in Dr. Dershowitz. There he is. Hey, sir, can we do this before we jump into you, Alan? Let's show the soundbite that most recently kind of infuriated Trump world on the shooting that happened in Minneapolis. Let's play that one.
So about the Minnesota shooting, and it brought me right back to Columbine in 1999 when I just could not get it through my head that students in America were shooting each other in schools. And this was a church inside a Catholic school. And what do you know, was a white guy, Republican, MAGA person. What do you know? White supremacist.
White supremacist, white guy, MAGA person. We will tell you that she apologized later when it came out that he had killed Donald Trump on one of his gun, the magazines for one of his guns. Alan, does this woman, she's asking for it, is she not? Can you sue her? She's a public persona. Can she say things like that? And do you really have a viable lawsuit?
Well, the only viable lawsuit is by people who have been damaged. So, for example, President Trump has a very viable lawsuit against Rosie O'Donnell, which I hope that he will pursue. And you can't allow people like Rosie O'Donnell just to make up facts about $1 billion being given by Jeffrey Epstein. I was Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer. I know quite a bit about the case. I know about the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump, a completely innocent relationship. But to let her get away with this, no, that's not what the framers of the First Amendment had in mind when they wrote that Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Obviously, there was an exception for malicious defamation that was implicit, indeed explicit, in the laws at the time.
So, okay, so Trump has a case, but she called all of MAGA white supremacists to support the mass killing of young kids praying in school. Isn't there a class action suit for something like that?
Class actions are really not permissible under the First Amendment. You have to show that you specifically have been damaged. She ought to be destroyed in the marketplace of ideas. Nobody ought to take her at all seriously. But the First Amendment does protect general statements of this kind. Look, the First Amendment is not designed to make people feel good. It's designed to allow speech which is horrible and offensive, as long as it doesn't maliciously defame individuals or in any way negate the national security interests of the country. So, these are close issues. And the Supreme Court is in the process, I believe, of reconsidering some of these issues in light of the internet and a range of other considerations that were not around when the First Amendment was enacted.
Alan, let's switch gears a little bit, because there's a story that's continues to fester, and we want to get it cleaned up and behind us. Trump and Murdoch. Okay, so Murdoch says that I guess Wall Street Journal has a copy of a birthday note that Donald Trump sent to Jeffrey Epstein with his signature and whatnot. Trump sues the Murdoch. I believe he sues the Wall Street Journal and Murdoch personally for $20 billion of the beat. It kind of died down a little bit, and now I see today that the Murdochs released what they believe is a note that Trump sent to Jeffrey Epstein and signed. I'm looking at it right here. Do you knew Epstein? You knew Trump. You knew Epstein. I mean, first of all, so the hell what if 20 years ago Trump sent Epstein a note if he never participated in any of the disgusting acts? No one really cares. But Trump is suing to stop this note from coming out. Here it is. Tell us, as a legal observer, how does this play out?
Well, it depends on whether the note is authentic. They also claim they have a note from me. I have no recollection. I might very well have written him a congratulatory note on his birthday. At the time, nobody knew that he was involved in the activities that he ultimately pleaded guilty to. This was well before any of that happened. I've asked the Wall Street Journal to send me a copy of the letter that purports to have my signature so I can check to see if it's my signature. I'll recognize my signature. And if it is, I'll say, yeah, I wrote it. And if it isn't, I'll wonder who sent it and who signed it. So I think the same thing is true with Trump. I don't think Trump in the end will win this lawsuit, because he would have to prove that the Wall Street Journal engaged not only in defamation, but malicious defamation. There has to be malice. And if the Wall Street Journal has a basis for making the statement, then they will prevail, even if the statement was false and defamatory. So it's a very hard barrier to overcome if you're a public figure.
But Trump doesn't tend to go to court with these. He tends to settle these. I'm thinking of CBS, ABC, for example. George Stephanopoulos characterized one of his convictions as rape versus when it was a civil matter, not a criminal matter. He sued him for a lot of money and settled for, I think, $16 million. Is there something at play here where Trump can get a win out of this, telling Murdoch, okay, so maybe you're right, but it's going to cost you a lot more to go through with the lawsuit than settle with me?
If I had to make a prediction, I would say no. I would say that the lawyers for the Wall Street Journal are telling Murdoch that they really have no chance of losing this. So I don't think we'll see a settlement. It's possible that they'll put some change on the table to avoid having to go to court. But I'm not even sure this will survive a motion.
But you and I both know, Alan. You and I both know. I mean, the worst part of any lawsuit is discovery, right? When you're sued, everything becomes public of all your private dealings and dealings with the people that you are working for you. So one of the Achilles heels to someone like Murdoch, and we saw it happen with the Dominion lawsuit, is I believe they probably settled because Rupert Murdoch didn't want to expose what he was saying to his friends, his colleagues, his hosts, people who worked for him. And so he ended up writing a check for $787 million, I believe. It's my opinion. I'm not suggesting that that's, but my point is maybe it's the same, maybe it's the same Achilles that Trump can lean into Murdoch and say, and Murdoch says, I don't want to deal with this either, so here's, $200 million.
But in order to get discovery, you have to overcome a motion to dismiss. And I'm not sure this will overcome a motion to dismiss, because in order to do it, you have to allege that there was malice. You have to allege that the Wall Street Journal was aware that, or should have been aware, was reasonably on notice that this statement was not signed by Donald Trump. I don't think this lawsuit is going anywhere. That's my prediction. I could be wrong, and you might be right, that if it does overcome a motion to dismiss, they probably would settle because they don't want discovery.
Got it. This other, very quickly, Alan, only a couple of minutes left. This situation in North Carolina where a young woman gets untrained, some demented lunatic, she happens to pick the wrong seat in the whole train, sits right in front of a demented lunatic who stands up, stabs her in the neck, kills her, right? 14 times this guy has been arrested prior, and he's out doing things like this.
Yeah.
She did nothing but sit in the seat in front of him. If you see the video of this, it's horrendous, by the way.
Yeah.
She sits down, he contemplates it, takes out a switchblade, picks it up, and you can see him getting madder and madder for whatever's going on in his mind. And I mean, how are these people getting out of jail? There's a magistrate named Teresa Stokes who let this lunatic out.
Well, he shouldn't be let out. Obviously, somebody like that should not be out on the street, but it also reflects the racism of Black Lives Matter. We should care equally about whether Black people or a Black person kills a white person kills a Black person, or a Black person kills a Black person. Black Lives Matter seems to care only when white policemen kill Black people. And that's racism. And that's why I am so totally opposed to the organization Black Lives Matter, which is a bigoted, anti-Semitic, anti-American, anti-justice organization that no one should support.
With a history of misappropriating donors' funds. It's incredible how that thing it hasn't been shut down over the years. I agree with you. Just tell us, though, he's going to be incarcerated, but where and how? And please tell us this guy will never be on the street again.
Oh, he'll never be on the street again, I would hope. He'll either be convicted or he'll be found not guilty by reason of insanity, which would result in him spending probably the rest of his life in a mental hospital. But this man should never, ever, under any circumstances, be allowed to see another day of freedom in his life. He has proved beyond any doubt that he is dangerous. I mean, that's the thesis of my whole book that you mentioned in the beginning, The Preventive State, how to prevent these kinds of things without abridging liberty. And I think locking people like him up based on a clear prediction, based on his former actions, that he will do it again, is a legitimate use of governmental power. So I would hope that based on what he did in the past, we can adequately predict and prevent him from doing it.
Away from where, though? I mean, my concern is he instead of doing hard time like he should, he's going to end up in some sort of mental institution that's a little less hard than a prison.
Your mental hospitals are not easy places to be in either, because who are your fellow inmates? They're mentally ill, often violent people. So I don't envy anybody going to a mental hospital for the criminally insane. But the important thing is to get him off the street, to prevent him from getting any access to this innocent woman who was so brutally murdered without any fault on her part at all.
Incredible. The media, the mainstream liberal media, and just keeps their mouth shut, but we're not going to. In fact, there's a monologue coming right after the break, after this. Alan Dershowitz, I appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right, get that book, folks. Get that book. All right, by the way, if you're stressed about back taxes, maybe you missed the April 15th deadline or your books are cooked, a mess, don't wait. The IRS is cracking down. Penalties add up fast, 5% per month. Yep, I said that, per month. Up to 25% more just for not filing, but there's help. Tax Network USA, great people, great folks. Well, they can take the burden off your shoulders and stop the spiral before it gets worse. They've helped thousands, literally thousands of Americans, whether you're an employee of a company, a small business owner yourself, or you haven't filed in years. Messy books, no problem for them. They've seen it all, and now they know exactly how to clean it all up with direct access to powerful IRS programs and expert negotiators. There is the important line there, negotiators on your side. Tax Network USA knows how to win. You'll get a free consultation, and if you qualify, they may even be able to reduce or sometimes eliminate fully what you owe. More importantly, they'll help protect you from wage garnishments or bank levies. So don't wait for the next IRS letter. Call 800-905-8000, 800-905-8000, or visit tnusa.com/RAV to talk to a real expert at Tax Network USA. Take the pressure off. Let them do the work. Let Tax Network USA handle your tax issues. Alrighty, one week and a day away. 1 week and 1 day away, and you are sending me voicemails on what you think it's going to be. Grit, perseverance. America, watch.
The fire doesn't care who you are. It tests you. It breaks most men. But if you rise through it, you'll find the edge. The edge. a no politics zone built for risk and resilience. No politics, only pressure.